Hi guys, we're at 9.5 gradient intercept form on page 542. The rule for a straight line, usually we said was y equals mx plus c, where m was the coefficient of x and c was the constant value. Now let's see what it actually means now that we have more knowledge about straight lines. So that coefficient of x turns out to be the gradient. On our table, it was as x change 1, how does y change? And that was what the coefficient was. It will become, you'll see it better when we look at some examples. The c is the y-intercept. Now remember, on any graph, the y-intercept is where x is 0. So if x is 0, then y will equal c, and that is why c is the y-intercept. Let's quickly have a look at this example. They give us a graph. And if I want to know what the equation of this graph is, I want to know first of all y equals mx plus c. The gradient is 2. So the gradient is 2. To find the gradient, I can go to any point. And I go from that point to that point. So it means I rise 2 and I run 1. So a rise over run is 2 over 1, which is 2. And the y-intercept is c. The constant value of the y-intercept is -1, and that is where that -1 comes from. That -1, c is a point over there. We will look at some more examples soon. Let's have a quick look at some more interesting lines. A horizontal line, which means it's parallel to the x-axis, has the rule y equals c, and the simple reason for that is because that is where, if I have the equation y equals mx plus c, then for this line, the gradient is 0. And everything times 0 is 0, which means y equals c. So y is 5 everywhere there. Y is -4 anywhere on this red line. And that is how we have horizontal line. On a vertical line means a line that's parallel to the y-axis has the rule x equals k. There's no y-intercept at all, so there's no c. The gradient is undefined, so we have to find x equals 4 or x equals -2. So this line, x is 4 all along this red line, x is -2 all along this blue line. Example 8, stating the gradient and y-intercept from the rule. I'm going to go a step further, and I'm also going to show you how to actually draw the graph of this line using this method. Now, if I have y equals 2xm plus 3, remember what it means is y equals mx plus c. And if I say y equals 2x plus 3, it is pretty obvious that m is 2 and that c is 3. So I can write that down. The gradient, where m is the gradient, so m equals the gradient, and the gradient is 2. C is my y-intercept, c equals my y-intercept, and the y-intercept is now 3. Okay, so how am I going to draw this? If I want to go and draw this, I'm going to go to my graph over here, and I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say I know what gradient is. Gradient is rise over run. Rise over run. Which means that the rise over run equals 2. That's the gradient, and it's 2 over 1 if there's only a 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my y-intercept first. So I'm going to go to my y-intercept, and it will get once again one of those dodgy graphs that didn't print properly, which means that this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The rest looks okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the y-intercept, which is y-intercept is 3. So y-intercept is 3. I am now going to rise 1, 2, and then I'm going to run 1. And that will give you my second point. Now to draw a straight line, all I need is 2 points. And now I'm just going to draw this with a ruler. And I'm going to draw my line, which then is the graph for that. If I look at my second equation, we have y equals mx plus c, y equals mx plus c. My equation is y equals a third x take 4. Again, I can see that my gradient is a third, and my y-intercept is at yellow is at -4. So I'm going to say gradient, m equals my gradient. The gradient equals 1 over 3, and my c equals my y-intercept, and my intercept is at -4. How do I draw that graph? I am going to my y-intercept. My y-intercept is -4. So I'm going to fix this dodgy graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to go to -4. There's y is -4. Now remember, this is my rise over my run, which means I'm going to go to my y-intercept -4. I'm going to rise 1. Positive 1 is up, and I'm going to run 3. So I'm going to run 3. 1, 2, 3. And from there, I can now use my ruler. And my graph will look like that. In example 9, they ask us to find a rule from a graph. Find a rule of these graphs. So I'm going to go to the first one, and I first got to identify what I know. First, I need to find what is my gradient. I need to know what m is, and I also need to know what c is. Now c is pretty straightforward because c is my y-intercept. Where does this line go to the y-intercept? Down there, which means c is -1. Okay, now I need to find the gradient. My gradient is rise over run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to my first point, my y-intercept. I'm going to choose a value where it intercepts some whole numbers. So if I go there, I won't be able to see what this value is. So I'll go to a point where it intercepts on integers. And I'm going to say, I want to know what is the gradient of the line between those 2 points. So I'm going to see what's my rise. To get to that point, I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4. So my rise is 4. Positive because I'm going up. And from there, to get to that point, I'm going to run 1. So I run 1, which means my run is 1. 4 divided by 1 is 4. I have my m, so my equation is y equals mx 4x plus c, but c is negative, so my equation is 4x minus c. Okay, let's see if I can zoom. No, I can't. Let's look at the next question. Again, I need to know what m is, I need to know what c is. C is my y-intercept. Where does it go to the y-intercept? It goes where y equals 4. So c equals positive 4. My gradient is my rise over my run. So I'm going to go to my y-intercept, which is over here. And I say, how do I going to go? Now I can go to that point, or I can go to that point. It doesn't really matter. If I come to this point, I'm going to come down 1, 2. Now remember, coming down is negative, so I have to rise -2, and then I'm going to run +1 to get to that point. So rise over, and the run is +1 because it's going in the positive direction. That gives us a gradient -2 divided by 1 is -2. Therefore, my equation is y equals mx, which is -2x plus 4. Our last two examples are just vertical and horizontal lines, and it is something you just have to remember. If I have my x and my y and I have a horizontal line, there's no x value. The only value that we have is a y value. And what is y? Y equals -3. That's it. I have a graph. I don't have any y-intercept, so I don't have any gradient on that thing. So y equals, no, I don't have any y values. It can't be y. The only value that I have is x values, which means x equals 7. I would like you to do as many of these questions as you can. The more you do, the better you get at it.